Yeah, with that 64 and 66, we can lead this race and we can all win this race if they'll help. But we'll all help each other there.
Poor Carl, go to their spotters up there, okay? I'll go to their crew chief right next to me.
Just follow in a row. That's all we're going to finish here.
That's Mike Wallace in the 7 car, Stephen Wallace in the 66, and David Stremme in another car owned by Rusty. Oh, we got a spin. It's a tap for Wallace.
Right behind you.
Oh, the big one in turn 1, heavy contact. Cars in the wall. Stephen Wallace heavily damaged. There comes Kyle Krisiloff down. David Rudiman involved. Oh, heavy damage on Stephen Wallace's Chevy. He was having such a great run. And Kyle Busch has damage on the right front of his Toyota.
Kyle Busch continues to have problems finishing this race. He tried a different strategy, but he's still caught up in this race.
Ripped off. He's checking off pit road first, probably.
Yeah, Rudiman has a lot of damage with his Toyota. You see Kyle Busch coming in behind him, so he will not make it 4 in a row here. But, you know, there again, we talked about this. We set it up from the beginning.
It's Carl Edwards' car.
We saw Carl Edwards with his hand out the windows. They were coming by us here, headed to turn 1. He was waving. There's a 21 car, Stephen Light. Kenny Wallace in the 28 car as Stephen Light gets the Childress car fired, tries to pull it away.
See the intensity level coming up on these guys.
We saw Mike Wallace look like he was going below David Rudiman right here, but they ran up on a slower car. Wow.
Right. Man.
That's Kevin Lepage's 61 that Carl Edwards went up across the back of. And then it all broke loose behind him. Cars slipping and sliding. Kelly Byers involved. Brad Keselowski, watch again.
Oh, you see what happened here. This 61 was not up to speed, and it's almost like you know, these guys moved over and didn't see him.
Had no idea that he was coming out. You know, they had. I'm sure that the spotters up there saw him on the apron. They weren't expecting him to come and join back right in front of the leaders. That's just a very unfortunate situation and a mistake on Kevin's part and his spotter. You know, quite honestly, somebody's got to be telling him, and he has to know that these leaders are coming because he just messed up a lot of cars and drivers' chances.
That's the reason that NASCAR has the rule that you have to keep all 4 tires below that yellow line before you get to turn 1. We saw Clint Boyer get penalized for running his car up on the racetrack, and that's the reason, because you can cause a wreck. That was a bad wreck right there, caused by a big mistake.
Carl Edwards, thankfully, with that hard impact, able to walk away from his car, reigning Nationwide Series champion. And Stephen Wallace climbing out of his heavily damaged Chevrolet after such a great run. Kelly Byers in the 47 car. He has climbed out and away. There is Carl. NASCAR requires that any driver that has any kind of contact on the track goes directly to the care center. That's a good rule because you never know. You want to be going and be checked out. Well, this is the one we talked about, the big one at Talladega. On board with
room for 2 there. Stay high, go high, go high. Go high. Yep.
Now David Rudiman's onboard camera will show you what David saw. There's Mike Wallace.
All right, hold up there, hold up there, hold up there, hold up there. Lab car just wrecked the whole field, Jerry.
Kyle Busch thought he could hang back and avoid trouble, but it was not to be. He was involved as well.
These guys at this point are going through the tri-oval and just racing as they normally would.
If you see that 88, 59 to 1 back. Slow one down low, slow one down low. Watch this, watch this.
That's a huge mistake on Kevin Lepage's part to pull up front of this group.
Good.
.33 car, Cale Gale driving for Kevin Delana Harvey.
High. Back it down, 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 come on down, come on down.
Kid from Mobile, Alabama, coming home to drive on his home racetrack in a Nationwide car for the first time. He was involved. Again, the 61 car. Now, what's Carl Edwards? Looking up across a racetrack from turn 1, there comes Reed Sorensen just sliding right over the camera. right into your living room as these cars come by at 180 miles an hour. DJ, in terms of Carl Edwards and how much time or how little time he had to react, what is that like in the car when you suddenly there you look up and there's another car sitting there and you're running 100 miles an hour faster?
Yeah, there's nothing that you can do, and obviously Carl had no idea that car was going to pull up onto the racetrack. You really can't see anything in front of these cars, so you have no idea. You saw Mike Wallace was making a move to go to the inside of David Rudiman. He shot back to the right when he saw the car pull up on. I'm sure it took them all by surprise, the ones that could see, but it's a terrible feeling. You know, most of the time you see that happening as you're going through an accident, but this is just very, very unfortunate that these guys were doing such a great job having a great race, and then to have something like this to happen. So, you know, we're seeing that right now these guys can't work on these cars under the red flag condition. They can look at them and see what they need to what tools they're going to need, what all they're going to need to fix, but they are not allowed to work this time. So it's just a very unfortunate situation, and one that really could have and should have been avoided.
Yeah, no excuse for that kind of an accident right there, because there's rules in place. NASCAR has strict rules on these cars staying below that yellow line till they get to the corner, and you know, Kevin should have stayed below that line.
Latest count is at least 14 cars sustained some significant damage. 2 or 3 others may have minor fender damage, and again, they cannot work on these cars during the red flag. A lot of debris will need to be picked up down in turns 1 and 2 as we are under a red flag condition at Talladega. It's what everybody dreads here at Talladega, the big one. And it took out as many as 16 cars, lap 70 in turn 1, hard impact. Back with more updates in just a moment.
The ring of fire, the taste of love is sweet.
Back at Talladega, well, a leader falls, but the war rages on. One of the most compelling and powerful episodes of the season on an all-new Lost Thursday at its new time, 10 Eastern, 9 Central, followed by a new Grey's Anatomy. And speaking of lost, here are the drivers who have lost a chance at a good finish at Talladega. Those are the cars involved, and some of them had a good chance possibly of picking up a win today. Many of these drivers in the points. These are 4 or 5 of the top 10 in the NASCAR Nationwide Series points that have now headed back to the garage area with heavily damaged cars. This is the 5th caution flag of the day. Now let's show you what happened on lap number 11. It began in turn 3. Tire issue for the 40 car, and the reigning IRL and Indy 500 champion Dario Franchitti comes across, and this gets hard impact into the left side of his Dodge. He's been taken to a local hospital for further evaluation. And this latest one here on laps 70 and 71, at least 16 cars involved. The 61 car of Kevin Lepage down on the inside, and the lead draft comes by. And hard impact by Carl Edwards and others as the cars have now been red flagged and pulled to arrest here on the racetrack. Well, for more on safety and why these drivers can walk away by and large from these kind of impacts, let's go down to our ESPN Dish Tech Center and hear from Tim Brewer.
Thanks, Jerry. Folks, we're going to show you a lot of different things in the Dish Tech Center. What we have, this net contains all this equipment right around the driver's head. What we also have here is a nice light helmet. You know, Bill Simpson, he does a phenomenal job with working with technology to make this helmet lighter, because if the helmet's lighter, it's going to keep the head of the driver in place. Another thing, that Hans device. You know, I wish this thing would have came around a long time ago, because it holds the driver's head. You know, it doesn't let it have serious injury to the neck, the spine area. But this helmet weighs less than about a pound, and that's good innovations. But when we come back, if we keep this driver contained right here in this cocoon with the fireproof system, as far as the uniform's concerned, the belts are properly affixed, you got padding on both sides of the legs. You know, we do everything we can to, you know, improve safety for these drivers. And it's one of these deals to where the guys are our friends. They do a great job. And, you know, we even like these guys. Right, DJ?
Yeah, you're exactly right, Tim. We've done a lot of things over the past few years that have really helped us out. One of the guys that was involved in that accident and was up in the points in second place is now with Shannon.
Hey guys, we're down here with Carl Edwards, who's come out of the Infield Care Center. He's actually waiting to see the replay of the wreck. So there was no indication that the 61 was coming off a pit road or coming back onto the track.
Look, I don't even know what color a car was hit. I just want to make sure that I don't make some sort of stupid statement, but before I see a replay. But in my mind, unless it shows otherwise, it just looked like somebody. I think it was a 61, Kevin Lepage. I think he just pulled up right in front of the field. I don't know. It's too bad the Save-A-Lot guys were all here, and last time we had a great race car. We wrecked in Vegas. Here it is. Yeah, so I'm driving along, minding my own business, and good afternoon. That was I don't know what. I'm just glad I didn't get hurt there. Glad I didn't get a piece of roll bar or something like that stuck through my floorboard.
Well, it certainly was a big hit from what we saw on TV. How are you feeling right now? They've released you, but how do you feel?
I'm great. I'm just really frustrated. I mean, this whole restrictor plate deal it's a great spectacle. You know, it's great for the fans, but stuff like that could kill somebody. That's just the bottom line.
All right. Well, Carl Edwards, good to see that he's out of the Infield Care Center. Mike?
And another guy studying the replays was Reed Sorensen. Unfortunately for him, he was one of the few guys who was able to drive his car back in here. Do you think you guys can repair this thing and get it out?
I don't know. It's I don't know if I should have driven it back, but we did just so these guys could look at it. And it's like a junkyard in here with all these cars. Just hate it for these Supercuts guys. They did a great job all weekend. Just came in, tried to get a good run for them, have a little fun, and it was fun. You know, I was having a great time out there today, and I can't thank them enough. They had a lot of work to do this weekend already, so I don't understand really what happened there. I just saw the replay there. That was pretty wild for sure, but once you get involved in one of those wrecks, there's not much you can do.
What could you see inside the race car during that?
Not much. I actually did see one of the cars go up in the air, and you know, I was already in the outside lane, and I just tried to slow down as much as I could, and then you're pretty much a ping pong ball in the middle then. So just hate it for all these crew guys that work on these cars, and you know, once something happens in the front of the field like that, it's pretty much guaranteed there's going to be at least 10 or 15 cars in the wreck. So just maybe need to review the blend rule or something, because that was a non-racing incident that caused that wreck. So maybe they can look at it and try to get it a little bit better, maybe for tomorrow even.
Doc?
Thank you. My question to our experts up here, is this a function of restrictor plate racing, or is this a situation where a driver makes a mistake and just pulls up in front of somebody, and it could happen at Charlotte or Texas or Las Vegas?
Yeah, you know, Jerry, we've all made mistakes as drivers out here. There's not one in this race today that hasn't made a mistake at some point in time. So we're not trying to hammer Kevin Lepage here, but it was a mistake made by a driver, and it was magnified because of restrictor plate racing, because you have that whole pack of cars. You know, if that happens at another track, you might get one or two involved, but because all of these guys were running 25 cars in a pack, and when one driver makes a huge mistake like that was right in front of the entire pack, then bad things are going to happen. I'm so glad that all of these guys are able to walk away and talk about it. I know I've been there. I know their frustration level, because you come into this race knowing that something's going to happen. And again, they were doing such a good job just in normal racing to have something like this take them all out and put them in that position is what is so frustrating for them.
Yeah, that's what's a bummer. We were having such a great race. Every one of these guys were running within inches and doing a great job, and then one mistake from one guy like that just ruined the whole race. So.
We began the day talking about these guys are fearless, but when you look into their eyes at Talladega, you know that this day is different. They know that things can happen. And we talk about the big one and the things that happen here, the big multi-car crashes. We talk to drivers about their thoughts about what can happen at Talladega in the past and what we just saw happen today. The big one, everyone dreads.
Inside 2, 3, 4, 5 cars now sliding.
Literally, you could be right in the middle of the whole thing and be fine, or you could be nowhere near the wreck and somehow you get caught up in it. It's so intense, and you can't do anything about it.
Whoa, trouble! Boy, the two-car upside down, over and onto Scott Riggs.
When you start crashing, then you realize how fast you're going, because it takes forever to stop.
Sweet home Talladega.
The Aaron's 312 for the NASCAR Nationwide Series at Talladega Superspeedway. Normally fast and frantic racing action right now is stilled under the red flag after a multi-car accident down in turn number 1. An accident begun when a car coming off pit road got onto the track in front of a steaming pack of cars at full speed.
The whole pack's coming off 4, but they've got, talking about a piece of debris, they're all going to blow by you, so just stay low. Watch the blend line, watch the blend line. And here comes the pack. Oh.
Voice of Kevin Lepage's spotter on his radio as he came off the pit lane. Kevin has come from the infield care center now. Let's hear from him with Mike Massaro.
And Alan, you can see the disappointment on the face of Kevin Lepage as he assesses the damage on his car. Kevin, what happened?
Well, it all started when we had a loose wheel and I came down pit road, and as I was leaving pit road, the spotter says pack's coming, so I stayed down till I got in turn 1 and got up on the racetrack, and the first half a dozen cars or so passed me, and next thing you know, I got rear-ended. So you know, everybody's mad at me for pulling up on the racetrack, but you go to the driver's meeting, they said stay low till you get in turn 1, pull up on the racetrack, and like I said, the first half a dozen cars got by me without any problem. So you know, my spotter's been spotting for me for a number of years, and I think she did a great job. And you know, I was down low, had my, matter of fact, left side's lower than the apron, and you know, there's 40 other guys up there trying to spot these things, and they couldn't see me coming out of the pits with this red and yellow race car. Then maybe they need to get new spotters.
Well, guys, obviously a very disappointed driver there.
So thoughts of Kevin Lepage there on his involvement in that accident. I want to bring in DJ, Andy, and Doc from up in the booth and talk about this now. The instructions the drivers are given at the drivers' meeting about the blend rule. And let's just talk about that for just a second. Kevin is there saying that it's till you get to turn 1 and then you come up on the racetrack. Correct me if I'm wrong, but my understanding is that the instructions for today were that you had to stay with those wheels below that line till you got around to turn number 2. Am I wrong on that, or are we in agreement that that's what the instructions were?
Alan, we are beside the NASCAR tower up here, and we have been told that the instructions were indeed just that you had to stay all 4 below the yellow line, the blend line, and you could then put 2 tires above it as you're going into turn 2, and then you could get above it in turn 2. So their instructions, according to what they're telling us, was that you could not come up on the racetrack right there. In fact, Clint Boyer was black flagged when he came back on the racetrack earlier today because he went up across that line at that point onto the racetrack and was brought back down pit road. So DJ and guys, when that happens, unfortunately, there's a huge speed discrepancy, and then we saw the results.
Regardless of what the rule was, it takes just a little bit of common sense right there would tell you not to come up on the racetrack when you got these guys were racing 3 and 4 wide at times getting down in there. So, you know, there wasn't a lot to be gained by trying to pull up on the racetrack at that point.
And you took exactly what I was thinking, that sometimes you just forget about the rule and you use common sense because, again, this is a totally different racetrack. The rule has been different over the years and things. It used to be that you could put your left side tires on the yellow line going out there. But regardless of that, you have to look at the situation and take into account that these guys are coming over 100 miles an hour faster than what you were running at that time, and you give them room and then you fall in. It's unfortunate that he had the problem, but you just created a bigger problem.
All the carnage down in the garage area, and 16 cars heavily damaged. And you saw a moment ago the distant look of one Brad Keselowski, who thought yesterday he might have a chance and might have the car to get his first win here today. Let's go down to Jamie.
Well, and he even led some laps early on in the race, and he was just watching our monitors to see the replay. And Brad, what was your assessment of what took place?
Well, obviously the 61 car pulled up in front of the field. I don't know why. Maybe he didn't know the field was behind him. It's hard telling, but tore up some cars and unfortunately got us. We're not that bad. We just hit with the right front wheel and broke the center link. Once we get that fixed, we'll be right back out there, and hopefully we won't lose too many laps and go get some good points out of it.
Because, of course, guys, more laps on that track means more points. So his car, one of the lesser damaged of all 16 cars involved. So Brad Keselowski looking to get back out there, guys.
Trying to hang in the top 10 in the points, Jamie. He had led 3 times today for 9 laps. And you see now, you wonder why these guys are not working on the car. The Navy crew, they're not allowed to touch the car under a red flag. Brad Keselowski driving for JR Motorsports, Dale Earnhardt Jr. There's a look at his season. His best finishes, a couple of 4th place in 2008 NASCAR Nationwide Series. You're watching ESPN on ABC.